Okay, now we're going to attempt to get into the messy world of actual modding. We're going to modify some XML, and we're going to start with something extremely simple. We're going to take some props in the game and modify their scale and add them to the mod. In order to do this, you're going to need to have yourself a decent text editor and one that supports XML, especially with XML markups. So I would recommend, this is the program I use. It's called Notepad++. It's free to download. You can go right to their website, just notepad/plus/plus.org, and go to their download page, and you can download the version for your system. And it's a really quick download. Once you have it installed, you can run it. The program looks like this. We'll be using this to do our XML editing. One thing I would recommend is we're going to be dealing with quite a few directories in here. It might be a good idea to kind of store them so you have access to them later. How we can do that is we can go up to our Steam library and click on the 9-bit armies in the game, go to Manage, and go to Browse Local Files. Now if we go in here, you'll see there is some directories that are going to be important to us. Like we want the Mod Tools directory, and we want the SRC, which is short for source. And this directory is going to give us access to some reference files that we can use to engineer our mod XML data. So I'm going to go into this XML directory, and I'm just going to take and click up here and copy this directory, and then I'm just going to post it into a new okay, so this is going to be SRC XML directory. All right, then we're going to start out by making a new map for this example. I'll cobble something together really quick here. Okay, I put together a really quick little map here. One little feature I used that we didn't cover before was I used the mirror rotate reflection here in the symmetry, so that it didn't just copy it straight over like a mirror. It actually mirrored and rotated it, so we have a kind of an S shape rather than just a mirror, which would make a C shape. Okay, so I want to have a giant statue in the middle here. I've called this map idle. I'm going to have a giant statue here. So if I go into props, and these are not server objects, these are non-gameplay elements basically. I'm going to go into props, and I'm going to do a search for statue. Oops, statue. We have one fantasy statue, and if we look at it, it's really tiny. I want something that fills like this entire area and is really big. Now, there's no way to scale in the terrain editor itself. That's done in the XML data. So we're going to show you how to do that. We're going to actually create an alternate entry for this prop that has a different scale. First thing we need to do is we need to have a mod that we're working with. So I'm going to take this map, and we're going to create a new mod, and this is going to be the idle mod. And this is going to be, I'll just call it the same thing, authored by Craig. And now that's going to show up here. We want to click this. Now it's going to become important, that message that shows up. It says mod changes, restart the editor to load the new selection. This is important. Since we're working with the mod files, we need to make sure that we exit this and reload this. So I'm going to save the map. I'm going to save the sob file. I'm going to exit and reload the map editor. Okay, now if I go back to mods again, you'll see that this is highlighted, and that's going to allow us to update the information that's available to the terrain editor from the mod. So now what we want to do is we want to click this browse mods files directory, and if you I would strongly recommend taking and copying this directory and saying Just because this is going to be different on every machine. It's going to be different on yours, and it is going to be on mine. Just to keep a record of stuff where everything is located. So now that we're in this mods folder, we can go under data and under XML. This is where we're going to save the XML file that represents the changes to our prop. So the first thing we want to do is we want to find the original prop entry for that statue prop. Now you're going to find that in this source directory. So we're going to go here, I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to bring up Notepad++. I've already got it loaded up. I'm going to go File Open, and we're going to make sure that we're in that source directory, and we want this is going to be under Objects, Props, Prop Test. And unfortunately, the only reason I know this is because I work with these files all the time at work. So, but that is where all the props are located. The server objects are saved in a different location, but these are the props. So if you load up this file, you're going to see the XML entry. Now, if you never work with XML, it's going to be a little bit challenging to understand what's going on. So just bear with me. So this is a prop entry in XML format. It basically says what the name of the prop is, the actual prop name, and some of them have an animator component, which means they animate. We're not going to deal with that. We're going to use the find feature in Notepad++. You go to search and find and type in statue. And this should bring us right to the prop that we need in the XML file. Now, this is the entry for this prop. Okay, so this is our prop entry from the source files. Before we do anything, we need to create a new XML file. Now, before we do that, it's a good idea to make sure we have a copy of the mods folder directory. So I'm going to copy that. That's from our when we saved before. I'm going to go new, and then we're going to go save as, and make sure you go down to the bottom here and say save as type is going to be the very down bottom. It's the extensible markup language file. Before we save this file, we want to make sure we paste that directory that brings us to where our mod is. So we want to go into data, XML, and we're going to call it, I already started one here, we're going to call it scaled props. Okay, now that we have a directory set up in the correct location, an XML file set up in the correct location for our mod, we're going to start populating it with information. So to start with, we're just going to grab all of the statue data and paste it in here. Now, as it stands, this XML data won't work because it's not formatted correctly, because we're missing the beginning and end of the XML file. So all you got to do is go back to the prop test XML file, grab this, paste it at the beginning, go all the way down to the bottom, grab this, paste it at the end. And I'm going to get rid of that little indent there. Okay, so now this is a legitimate XML file now. Make sure that you save it, and this is going to load in the statue, and it's actually just going to overwrite the existing one because we didn't give it a different name. So we're going to give it a different name, and we're going to call it huge. There we go. And I'm going to scale it up to 8. All right, and make sure we save it. And you can add more props in here by simply taking and going back to the text, the prop test XML file. You can grab any one of these, like say this ancient temple, and you'll notice that we're replicating the format here. You could take and say, okay, this one's going to be huge as well, and we're going to make it 8. It's an arbitrary number. You can make it any size you want. Let's make it 8.0 to be consistent. I don't think it makes any difference. All right, now in order for this file, I've saved it. In order for this file to be actually accessible within the mod, we need to reference this scale prop file, XML file, in another XML file. So I'm going to go save as, and I'm going to copy this name just because we're going to use it. So we want the scaled props name, and we're going to load up another file that is in the XML data directory. This is going to be the mod config file, and we're going to drag this all the way down until we get to here where it says additional game object XML files. And what you want to do is, and we want to enter it like this. We want to set entry, entry, and then we want the name of our XML file, which is scaledprops.xml, and then we want it to look like this, which is going to close that comment. All right, and then we want to save this, and then when we go back to our mod, now you're not going to see anything right away because we need to close the terrain editor and reload it in order for the data to be updated. So I'm going to close this. Okay, I ran into a bug here that was probably important to bring up. It said there was a name collision. There was already a prop with the name statue 01 huge. So we're just going to call this statue 01 huge 2. And just in case, I'll put one down here too and save that file. This is in the scaled prop XML file. Okay, so now I'm going to give it a try again and see if it doesn't complain this time. Okay, so we can see our original prop is still out there, but now if you go up to the props list, make sure you have the props tab selected, go all the way down to the bottom, we should see a new directory list containing our props down at the bottom here, scaled props right there. You can see our temple huge and our statue huge. So if I go out there and look at that, okay, so now we got a giant statue and we got a really giant temple. All right, so probably that's not a good model to scale, but you can see the example. As it stands, when you submit the mod to Steam, it's going to submit these XML files along with it, so there shouldn't be any issues with that. This is a really great option I found for in a case where like maybe you're filling in props on the side here and they're just not big enough and you want to scale them up a little bit. You can do it this way.